Hi, everybody. My name is Joe. I'm a doctoral student studying clinical psychology, and this is Psych Made Simple. Today, we're going to continue our series on the Enneagram. I'm showing the slide from my last video about the Enneagram that talks about how the way I see it is that it really helps uncover the traps or uncover what I would say are fears that drive a lot of our behavior and helps us kind of redirect towards moving toward what we value rather than running away from whatever we fear. And shout out to Becca Franklin for leaving a comment on the last video. She said she was interested in hearing about the fears of type 9. So I decided to make this video about type 9, and I'm happy to make videos about the other types. And just to emphasize, I'm someone who's really interested in the Enneagram, but I don't really consider myself like an expert or anything like that. So, take my opinion for what you will. And I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any observations, or for example, if you are a type 9 and you have any thoughts about what I'm about to share. So before we jump into talking about type 9, I wanted to make a quick aside and talk about this philosopher slash psychologist named Rene Girard and his two types of desire. So he calls them physical desire and metaphysical desire. Physical desire is what you enjoy for its own sake. So, for example, if you really enjoy driving fast in cars, the adrenaline, and you would enjoy it even if no one's looking, then, that's a physical desire because you just enjoy the process of driving fast. A metaphysical desire, on the other hand, are the things you enjoy because of who it makes you. So, for example, if you have a fancy car, and it's not because it can drive fast and you like the feeling of driving fast, but it's more for the status of having a fancy car, and so that people can, think a certain way about you because of that, then that would be more in line with your metaphysical desire. Now, it's important to point out that Rene Girard is not saying that like one or the other of these is like the good one and the other one's the bad one. Ideally, these two are aligned. For example, like if you do really enjoy driving and you also enjoy kind of that status that goes along with it, then that would be satisfying. Buying that car would satisfy both of those desires. Or just another example, is like if there's a certain job that you enjoy, like the status of being that job or, working that job or having that career, but you also actually enjoy the process of the day-to-day, you really enjoy what you do kind of 9 to 5 each day because of that job, then that's going to be a great situation for you, right? So if those two things are aligned, then that's great. But I think extreme adherence or extreme, giving into either of these can lead to problems. So for example, obviously just only doing what you enjoy for your own sake, that can lead you to, be a drunkard or something like that, and or completely give in to gluttony. And then, you might not only start enjoying those things less physically, but also there will be this metaphysical lacking of, an identity that you feel proud of, and you might be ashamed of yourself. On the other hand, if you fully give into that metaphysical desire, that might be like completely selling out and doing a job that you like the status of, but you hate every minute of the job. And, there's no enjoyment in the terms of your physical desire. You might enjoy the status that comes along with it, but that wouldn't really be a great way to live either. So again, just to stress, like ideally you find things to do that are in line with both the physical and the metaphysical desire. And I references another person named Jonathan B., who has a really great YouTube page about Rene Girard. So that's where I learned some of this content. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think that the metaphysical desire is really important for type 9. So the reason why I bring that up is I think, and this is my view of it, that I think type 9, it's associated with a metaphysical desire to be a peacemaker. A lot of times it's called like the peacemaker type, depending on what sources you're looking at. One book that I really like about the Enneagram is called The Road Back to You. And at the beginning of each chapter, it has some statements that it's kind of like if you agree with these statements, then that's more evidence that you might be this type. And it'll have 20 statements. So I selected some of those statements from the chapter on type 9. I'll do almost anything to avoid conflict. Others see me as more peaceful than I really am. I'm happy to go along with what others do. And I often choose the path of least resistance. And, you know, the reason why I quoted that is kind of thinking like socially choosing that path of least resistance to not bring up any conflict or hurt anyone's feelings. I think that type 9s really do fear hurting other people, hurting their feelings. And I think that's related to a loss of this identity as being a peacemaker. You know, I think there's this metaphysical desire of like who I want to be is the peacemaker in these relationships or in this family structure or whatever it may be. A lot of times, you know, for example, like an oldest sibling that might have to, you know, make peace between the younger siblings and the parents a lot of times, that might be the type of person that ends up being a type 9. And yeah, I think that it really boils down to that fear driving a lot of behavior. And a lot of times it can be helpful. You know, obviously being a peacemaker is a good thing. But if it's avoiding conflict to the point that you don't bring things up, you end up maybe being passive aggressive about things or just don't resolve the conflicts that ultimately do need to be resolved, then that's where that fear and simply giving into that fear can run into problems for the type 9. So that's my take on kind of the fear that drives type 9. If we go back to this chart, you know, of just being aware of that fear can be really helpful in obviously pointing to the things that are good about, you know, avoiding conflict and stuff like that, but also trying to see ways in which that fear is leading you away from your values and not, you know, toward what's important to you. So if you like this video, you know, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content. And please leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this. First of all, if you have any video requests or anything like that, and also just if you have any thoughts on type 9 or the Enneagram or anything like that. So thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.